Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of Pop In with Dr. Stretch. This one is going to be phenomenal. I hope we can get everything in because there's a lot going on with my guests today. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Dr. Benita Anderson. I will be your host today. I am CEO and founder of Stretch Educational Training and Support. Thank you for being here. So, as you know, I have spent this month celebrating Women's History Month by acknowledging and honoring women of influence who are here to receive their flowers. So the Dr. Carolyn Strong, who will be with me today, is no different. And as you will see, we will pack as much of Dr. Carolyn Strong as we can in these next few minutes, but I promise you it won't be all of it. So I'll have her tell you at the end where you can find out more about her because there's a lot. Welcome, Dr. Strong. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. All right. Just for our viewers, Dr. Strong does not know what's coming as far as pictures, but this is a show and tell. I'm showing and she's telling. And so I appreciate her being here and taking time out to spend a few minutes with me. And I'm going to start out with that mom life. Tell us a little bit about that part of your life.
Oh, goodness. I am a gap mom. So my daughters are 13 years apart. And to get all of the usual questions out of the way, no, the second one is not a second marriage baby. No, they do not have different daddies. No, I did not lose my mind and find somebody new. That it just happened to us. My oldest is 20, my youngest is 6. And we are starting over and it's okay. I am finding that some of the ways that I've grown as a woman in the last 13 years are being reflected in my parenting. And that has caused me to have some meaningful conversations with my oldest. I tell people all the time, it's like, when I look around or I say something to Little and she's like, hey, where was that tool in the toolkit when I was 7 or when I was 6? And it's just like, well, it wasn't there yet. I had you at 25. I had her at 38. If I hadn't learned something between 25 and 38, I wasn't doing it right. And if I did learn something between 25 and 38 and I didn't employ it, and I'm still not doing it. So there you have it. That's that mom life for me. So I got one going into 3rd grade and one coming out of college.
I've been watching them and I just want to say congratulations. Clearly you are doing that mom thing to death. And I love watching and keeping up with these young queens. And I will be here to see them as they continue to grow and make us all proud as the next generation.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate that because, sometimes as a woman, as a Black woman, as mom, you feel like you're not doing anything right. And then there are times where you look at those children and you're like, okay, I did something right. And the world will, hear your roar and feel my legacy. So
That's right. Well, I appreciate you and they're just gorgeous. And like I said, good luck to both of them as they continue.
Their father says thank you since they look nothing like me.
Oh, wow. So to our viewers, as I told you, there are going to be holes left in this and we will leave you a place to go to fill in the holes. So, but I'm just going to ask you, who is Dr. Strong?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you, who are you?
Oh gosh, it really depends on the day. I take that back. The nuance depends on the day. But the one thing that's going to be unwavering all the time is the fact that I am going to unapologetically ride for equity and access. And I'm going to unapologetically support intersectionality in Black women and girls, period. Like, that part doesn't ever change. Now, what that looks like may change from day to day, but that's my through line. That is my through line. I am going to advocate. I'm going to hold space for and I'm going to make sure that the most marginalized groups feel seen.
That's what I've seen in you and my following of you. That's kind of puts it, like you said, just kind of puts everything into an external ball. There's a lot internal, but that's the external. Tell me about this. Is this your first? Is this your first?
Yes, that was my first book.
Okay.
Black Girl Blues was, wow, it's older than my youngest. It was published, I want to say, in 2014. Yes, because she was born in 2015. It is a book of small group sessions that can either be used as a lunch bunch or alternatives to suspension, or even just proactive girl groups that specifically target the needs of African American girls. And how this book came about was fairly ironic, because it was a workshop that I was doing on a conference circuit which eventually evolved into my dissertation, which is where we look at how Black women have historically been represented in popular culture. And by popular culture, I mean the United States. And we take that and we then examine how that plays a role in how girls are then received in school settings. And so we take a look at the 4 archetypes of historical figures of Black women: the Mammy, the Sapphire, the Jezebel, and the strong Black woman. And those are the archetypes that my book, well, actually, I think the book looks at the tragic mulatto, but my dissertation looked at the strong Black woman. And we take a look at what it is that the world thinks when it sees a Black woman. And we look at how that manifests in school settings. And being in discipline, when you look at something like a sapphire, which is this stereotype of a Black woman that says Black women are loud and finger popping and this and that, and we don't listen and everything this, and then you get a discipline referral, and that belief system is manifested when that referral says girl has an attitude, nothing more. Girl has an attitude, girl didn't do this, girl didn't do that, or girl was whatever it was. And the thing that we have to look at discipline, and I always kind of bring things back to discipline equity because that's my wheelhouse and that's where I started. Discipline is arbitrary. A referral is arbitrary because as a teacher, we're taught that we use referrals when we've exhausted our toolkit. With that being said, typically the amount of referrals is going to be reflective of the amount of tools in your toolkit. And one of the tools we don't have in our toolkit typically, which is my life's work to change, is how we respond to people in a culturally relevant manner. That's a tool that's not in the toolkit. That's a tool that a lot of pre-service teachers don't get, trying to fix that too. However, so one of the things that we have to look at is that a lot of this stuff is arbitrary. And so, but it's also based on prior knowledge. And that prior knowledge comes from society at large. So it led me to say, well, what is society saying about us? What has society been saying about us? And how do we now work to break those things down? And that's where that book came from.
Oh, well, let me just stop you there and have you introduce yourself as the work that you do inside the school right now.
The work that I do inside of the schools is I am currently a dean of students. And I've been doing that for a very long time. And the reality of the situation is that doesn't mean what it used to mean. 16-ish years ago when I started in discipline, it meant, all right, this was your infraction, this is your consequence. Now it should, it's not always, but it should be a lot more nuanced than that, because there are a lot more things to consider. We need to consider the why. because if we don't ever get to the root of the why, then it just keeps happening. If a student fights and you suspend them and they come back and they fight again and you suspend them and they fight again, because you've never tried to take the time to figure out why they were fighting. So until you do that, you're just going to stay on this hamster wheel. And one of the things that I see my job as a professional disruptor, because that's what I am, as a professional disruptor, is basically to just go around kicking the hell out of hamster wheel. Just knock them down. Now what are you finna do with this hamster now that it doesn't have a wheel? You got to find another way to entertain it.
I can appreciate that. And we can talk about this later. But I have a lot of appreciation for what you do. As you know, I was there. I saw you do it as a part of as we were a part of the same district. But I can definitely, I appreciate what you just said about the whole, you're the first dean that I actually heard this from, but the cycle. And I know when I was a classroom teacher, I would often get from the dean, if Ms. Anderson sent you down here, there's a problem. She doesn't send kids here. So I appreciate what you just said, because I always felt as a teacher, and I won't belabor it, but I always felt as a teacher, what does that mean? I'm gonna send you down and get you suspended. You'll be back. And we still have the same problem we had, only it's escalated now because I kind of didn't give you what you needed. So anyway, okay, I'll go on. This is a term that I hear you use all the time. And basically, I guess it's self-explanatory, but is there something you can add to it?
I mean, honestly, microaggressions really isn't self-explanatory, because it's actually, to me, microaggressions is actually an oxymoron. And the reason it's an oxymoron is because when you describe something as micro, you're literally calling it small and minuscule and barely able to see. And my argument about microaggressions has always been that it's literally the opposite. It's not small, it's not minuscule, and it has a big impact. And the way I think about microaggressions, and one of the best, I guess you would call it, metaphors that I've seen for a microaggression is to think about like a mosquito bite. So most of the time when a mosquito bites you, you don't even feel it, because it's a thing that happened and you don't feel it, but then you look up and you see the mark. So you know something happened. But then you think about that same mosquito stinging you in that same place over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and eventually it's going to become a really big problem. And that's what microaggressions are, because people that engage in them, it's never just a one and done. It's especially when you don't react to them, then you've given them this kind of silent consent to keep doing and saying the things that they've done instead. If I had a quarter for every time somebody told me I was pretty for a dark-skinned girl, I would quit this school thing and move to Aruba. Or if somebody asked to touch my hair, or things of that nature, and just those things that you think are harmless, but they leave their mark on people.
Yes.
Or even like as an undergrad, being Black and attending a school like Northwestern, the predominant microaggression was, well, what sport do you play? Because that was the assumption that that's why I was there. And so those types of things, or even when you take your child to the doctor's office and is the father active in the child's life? What you asking these white women that same question? Because I heard it. So those types of things.
Well, thanks for the elaboration on it, and I like the way you broke that up as far as the compound word being used there. I never looked at it that way. One of the roles that I saw you in or have seen you in is a collaborator. Tell me about how some of the people you work with outside the school.
Oh my goodness. I have so many collaborations outside of school that I'm so excited about. And in addition to the guests that I get to interview on my individual platform, which we need to talk about because I haven't interviewed you yet.
Okay.
Strong Conversations, which is more based in like the educational anti-racism equity realm. That's kind of my Strong Conversations wheelhouse. And that's usually me with a guest in a 30-minute conversation about something in that wheelhouse. Whereas Centering Sisters, where our tagline is real talk for Black women by Black women, very loudly and unapologetically
Mhm.
addresses the needs, concerns, and topics that are germane to the intersectionality of being Black and woman. So what we do is a bi-monthly means twice a month, yes, bi-monthly podcast where we talk about different topics through that lens of being Black and woman. And we typically, sometimes, it's just three of us. Other times we will bring on a guest to kind of elucidate more of the point that we're trying to make, or an expert that can do the topic justice in terms of unpacking what it is that we are trying to get across. As a Chrysalis board member, which I'm a very proud Chrysalis board member, it is an organization that is geared towards Black girls. And they do mentoring, and they do classes and counseling sessions for young girls to kind of stand in the gap and provide the things for them that sometimes society doesn't. So those are my main three collaborations. Well, main two collaborations.
Very good. I'm sorry. This for our audience, Centering Sisters. This is the one that she was. I'm apologizing because you didn't see the picture at the time, but I needed you to see it while she was discussing Centering Sisters. She just talked about that.
Even though we have Chrysalis up here, and there it is. There's Chrysalis.
Okay. These are both things that you just spoke about, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, well, we're right. We here. We right together.
We're thinking the same way. I just need to press the click at the right time, and I'll be on the same page. But anyway, I saw this current event on here, and I just wanted to post it for our audience. Anyone who looks at it prior to that time, I wanted to make sure you saw that. And
that if you have not read Dear Black Girl, you should read Dear Black Girl. Letters to young sisters about stepping into your power. It was curated by Tamara Winfrey Harris, who is a co-host on Centering Sisters, and it is comprised of letters by Black women that are written to young girls or even their younger selves, just about any topic that you can imagine. Mm-hmm. My letter is about colorism and just speaking to little dark skinned girls who never feel like they are enough.
I look forward to reading that. Sounds wonderful. Kind of, I don't seem to have strong conversations. So I want you to I know you did, you told people, you just told us what it's all about, but how can people connect with you as far as either any of your collaborations or Strong Conversations, which is your project?
Strong Conversations is on Facebook at Strong Conversations. You can always find me on Twitter at Dr. Carolyn Strong. Those are probably the easiest ways to get a hold of me because, as you know, I am a fairly prolific poster, so I'm always there. And if somebody wants to have a strong conversation, they are more than happy to hit me up and do so. I am now in the process of, I did a panel to end out Black History Month that was called Do Black Lives Matter in School? Yeah. And some of the things that came about was that the answer was a resounding no. So now, of course, I've never been one to just throw out a problem and not offer solutions because I really hate that. So now we have asked the question's been answered. So now the culminating series is what will it look like when Black Lives Matter in school? So I'm currently curating interviews for that. One has already aired, and it was with a math teacher whose focus is culturally relevant curriculum or culturally competent curriculum. So that has aired. I've talked to some people about the through line of equity, because a lot of times when we talk about equity, we look at it as it has a stop and a start, and it really doesn't, because if you're truly doing equity correctly, it's a way of life. So the interview that we're talking about there is this through line, and how do you move through everything that you're doing in an equitable manner. And I have a couple more. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about yet, but we're going to talk about something. That much I can guarantee you.
Well, folks, I did my best to give you, like I said, an overview of who this phenomenal woman is. All we did was scratch the surface, but please connect with her. Twitter, Dr. Carolyn Strong, correct?
Yeah.
You said Facebook, Strong Conversations.
And if you want Centering Sisters is at Centering Sisters on Facebook and Centering Sis on Twitter.
Thank you so much for, despite everything, jumping on here with me and sharing a little bit with me. And I look forward to continuing to follow you and all the great things you do. And I certainly appreciate it.
I'm being accused of being a horrible mother because I've not said anything about my 6-year-old book. You know, she wrote her book and I did not say anything about it. Puda and Granny don't like the Rona. You know, she wrote that at the height of the pandemic when she was 4. And it was just her way of unpacking the pandemic. And it was sitting there and I did not say anything. So I was kind of being silently admonished, but I think I'm okay now.
And please offer Puda my apologies as well, because I know about that book. I saw it and I know that she did a fantastic job. Congratulations, Puda. Keep rocking, okay?
You can answer.
All right, people. I'm going to let these people go about their day. Again, thank you. If you have questions or want to connect with me, my website is www.stretchyourschool.com. Click on About Me or Testimonials to learn more about what I do. And also, I'm going to ask everybody to connect with me, screenshot this, and this is where you can find me. Okay? Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Strong.
Oh, anytime.
Any closing remarks for now?
No, I think you pretty much covered it, because you know I don't know how to stop talking, so sometimes it's best for me just not to start.
I appreciate you so much. Like I said, resilience would be the title for today. Determination and resilience.
Yes. Have cars stuck in a tree trunk will travel.
Yes, I appreciate that a lot.
Okay.
All right. Peace out, everybody.